1 minute to drop off, Sam.
This is Sam and Bucky, the two main characters in the newest installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, why do they look like they are going to bite each other's heads off, you may ask? Well, let's get back to that in a bit. First, I want you to think about the idea of a superhero. What is it? Is it the superhuman powers you have, like being able to fly or lift up buildings? Maybe it's the fancy costumes and clever nicknames. Or maybe it's how they save the world by defeating an evil villain. Well, no matter how you think of it, the way we see superheroes are typically shaped by the way big blockbuster movies tend to show it. But what lies underneath their extraordinary abilities? Behind every mask, every iron suit, lies a human being with their own hardships, conflict, and in some cases, trauma. And when it comes to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where does this hold true? At the end of Avengers Endgame, we bid farewell to Steve Rogers, otherwise known as Captain America. In this scene, we witness Sam and Bucky say their goodbyes, but more importantly, we watch Captain America pass on the shield to Sam.
Thank you. Only thing bumming me out is the fact I have to live in a world without Captain America.
Oh, well. That reminds me. Try it on. How does it feel?
Like it's someone else's.
It isn't.
Steve had chosen Sam to become the next Captain America, but what does that mean? The shield is supposed to be a symbol for resilience, and Captain America is supposed to be an embodiment of the American dream. The only thing is, does it still hold true for a person of color? For context, Sam Wilson is a former U.S. Air Force pararescue airman who left active duty when his wingman died during combat to instead help other veterans suffering from PTSD. He forges a connection with Steve, who is a man out of time trying to fit in a different world. Let's look at a conversation between the two of them right after one of Sam's therapy sessions.
Look who it is, the running man.
Caught the last few minutes. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, brother. We all got the same problems. Guilt. Regret.
You lose someone?
My wingman, Riley. Flying a night mission. Standard PJ rescue op. Nothing we hadn't done 1,000 times before. Till RPG knocked Riley's dumbass out of the sky. Nothing I could do. It's like I was up there just to watch.
Sorry.
After that, I had a really hard time finding a reason for being over there, you know?
Afterwards, Sam goes on to become the Falcon and a part of Captain America's team to save the world. But what's left when it's all over and they have to come back to reality? For Sam, it's the loss of his closest friend, and now a shield he struggles to accept. Because while being Captain America is a prestigious honor and monumental role, it feels like a burden to Sam, as to the world he is still a black man. Here's a conversation Sam has with a man named Isaiah Bradley. Isaiah is a Korean War veteran with super soldier abilities, but rather than get the praise and acclaim as a Captain America would, he was instead imprisoned and experimented on for 3 decades.
Pledge allegiance to that, my brother. They will never let a black man be Captain America. And even if they did, no self-respecting black man would ever want to be.
Notice the pain in Isaiah's voice and struggle he has to even explain what happened to him. He was not only stripped of his accolades and achievements, but of his humanity. And as another black man, Sam can empathize with Isaiah. We can also see his experience parallel to the real world with the Tuskegee experiments, where the federal government purposely lied to black men who were infected with syphilis about their condition just so that they could observe the impact of their infections. Sam is the Falcon, an Avenger for Christ's sake, and yet still acknowledges the criticism and low respect he will get from holding that shield. And no superhero status will ever free him from the everyday problems a black person must face. And now, on the other hand, a character who similarly faced decades of imprisonment and pain is Bucky Barnes. Bucky was Steve's best friend during the 1940s, but was captured during World War II and brainwashed into a killing assassin called the Winter Soldier. For years, Bucky was programmed to kill anyone he was told to, with one of them even being Steve. After a few movies and battles, Bucky had found peace in Wakanda, an advanced city in Africa, where Bucky was able to heal and break free of all the control triggers in his mind. Bucky himself even doubted the process, as he had lost all hope, only seeing himself as a monster. We see in this clip where Bucky discovers that it has worked and is finally free from his life with a murderer.
Возвращение народов. Один. Грузовой вагон. Йофрей.
In many ways, it parallels a veteran having years of built-up pain taken off their shoulders. The tears of joy falling from his eyes, a smile of relief taking up his entire face. This is a man who can finally move on with his life and take on the next step in his recovery. Now, coming back to the present day in the show, with Bucky back in control of himself, he has difficulty adjusting back to the real world. We come to find Bucky unable to sleep, lying on his living room floor, and here, struggling to open up fully in his mandated therapy.
You're a terrible shrink.
I was an excellent soldier, so I saw a lot of dead bodies, and I know how that can shut you down. And if you are alone, that is the quietest, most personal hell. And James, it is very hard to escape. Look, I know that you have been through a lot, but you've got your mind back. You are being pardoned. I mean, these are good things.
So just like Sam, Bucky is a close friend of Steve, who now has to return back from saving the world to a world without him. In many ways, Steve was the rock that kept Bucky out of his mental imprisonment. And as we see in this session, Bucky doesn't know how he is supposed to continue and struggles to make amends with the people he has wronged. And when we come back to Sam and Bucky as a pair, they start the show off on the wrong foot. Bucky can't seem to comprehend why Sam would give up the shield that Steve chose him to take up. And Sam can't comprehend what it's like for Bucky to return to a world with nobody close to him left.
Why'd you give up that shield? Why are you making such a big deal out of something that has nothing to do with you?
Steve believed in you. He trusted you. He gave you that shield for a reason. That shield, that is everything he stood for. That is his legacy. He gave you that shield and you threw it away like it was nothing. So maybe he was wrong about you. And if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me.
You finished?
Yeah.
All right, good. Maybe this is something you or Steve will never understand. But can you accept that I did what I thought was right?
Here, we see that while both characters are at odds with each other, they both share feelings of internal suffering. Both are at the loss of the person that brought them together, and because of that, they don't want to face the burden they were left with each other and go back to what they know best, battle. But over the course of the series, behind all the action and special effects, Sam and Bucky come closer and closer together as they try to reach their common goal. They begin to realize how alike they truly are and start to understand the pain the other person feels. Superheroes are incredible individuals, but there is a reason why we admire them so much. Sure, they can kick ass and save countless lives, but when we look at a person like Sam or Bucky, it's also because of how much we can relate to them. The show grounds these characters in very realistic ways that makes them feel human. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige even stated in an interview, "What's great about the Marvel characters is their flaws. For as crazy and extraordinary and science fiction and fantasy and supernatural as the MCU can get, it's the grounding in the character experiences and the emotions of the character." We all have our moments of weakness. As human beings moving through this crazy, random world, it's inevitable for us to be lost and overwhelmed. However, what the Falcon and the Winter Soldier has taught us is that rather than dwell over what we have lost, we must instead find strength in the things we still have. And no, it isn't easy, but that's just the essence of a superhero that lies in us all.